Ladies and gentlemen, the time has come once again. Since Chrono Trigger ended about 6 months ago and it's getting uploaded right now, it's time for Kenny and I to start off on our next RPG adventure.
Final Fantasy III, and it looks like this is the DS version, opening at
Yes.
least. But that's a lie. We're playing the original version. Don't worry.
Yes. Final Fantasy III is a bit of an interesting tale to tell in terms of its release. It was released for the Famicom in 1990, but we did not get it until 2006 on the DS remake, which is what this intro is ripped right out of. Although it's also on the Ouya, I believe, as well. I think there was a PSP version in Japan, but we never got that. It's also available on Steam, which is also the 3D version. There was a rumor, I believe, back in the PlayStation 1 days of a PSX release of this, with a bit of a compilation with Seiken Densetsu 3, so that we could kind of have something similar to Final Fantasy 4 and Chrono Trigger's release. But it never happened because just rumors. Though there is also a rumor of, and this is more relevant to what's going on right now, since this is the year of the 30th anniversary, they're supposedly making a 30th anniversary compilation of Final Fantasies 1 through at least 9, I think.
Oh,
I've also heard that 10, 12, and such are going to be included, but I'm not too sure about that. And the interesting thing about that rumor is that they say that the original version of each game is going to be in there, as well as some of the remakes. So, like, you'd be able to play the 8-bit versions of Final Fantasies 2 and 3 for the first time in an official US translation, as well as their, like, Game Boy Advance DS ports and such.
that would be so much fun.
Oh, that would be awesome, but we don't know about that yet.
Would be.
Either way, I am taking one liberty of this playthrough in terms of the characters. We are seeing the characters here in the intro. There's Luneth, the guy with the ponytail. In the DS version, he's kind of reckless but cheerful, but overly blunt. Ark, who is the guy who has, like, the brownish hair, the kind of cowardly-looking one. He's one of the kind, cowardly, just kind of noble guys. Refia's the girl, but she's motherly. She scolds the guys, so on and so forth. And then Ingus is the guy who was the red mage earlier. He's fairly serious, knightly. He's basically just a knight.
Kane.
None of those character traits are in the 8-bit version. In fact, they're all boys in the 8-bit version. However, since there's no character, I am actually going to be referring to Refia as a girl throughout most of it, because I'm using the DS version names.
Okay. So is there, like, no real story, I guess? I don't know. There's a story, of course, but, like, is there a whole bunch of, like, character development in the NES version?
No, there's none. The DS version actually has a good amount. Like, you learn at some point that Refia is afraid of toads and such. And there's actually a good amount more added to some of the more important NPCs. But in the 8-bit version, nope. Because 90s. And now to very slowly transition from 2006 to 1990. The Gurgan quietly spoke. This earthquake is but an omen. The tremors that pulled the crystals into the earth and brought forth monsters are nothing compared to the darkness which is to come. But hope is not yet lost. 4 souls and that went way too quickly. Oh well. 4 orphans have been raised by the priest Topapa in the remote village of Ur. The crystal has sunk into the earth due to an earthquake, and the 4 boys have come into an adventurous mood. They only intended to test their courage, but now they're into an entirely new adventure. So let's start off and name our characters.
Onion Knight.
At the start, all 4 characters are the class Onion Kid. Don't worry, they won't stick around with that for too long. Also, bit of an archaic programming thing here. When you name the characters, even after you finish the input a name, you have to use the space there in the bottom right to fill out the rest of the spaces.
Well, that's bad.
Yeah, it doesn't come into play much, but during the 2 or 3 occasions they do to refer to all the characters by name, it'll be very distracting because it'll be like, Luneth, Ark,
That's true.
Ingus.
Okay, something I find a little bit interesting is that in Dissidia, they refer to him as Onion Knight, not Luneth.
That's because similarly to the Warrior of Light, the one representative, they didn't have canon names at the time, at least not in Japan. Also, I'm just going to say this right now. Whenever you see dialogue with quotation marks around that, that's just supposed to be generic dialogue that you can interpret as being said by any 4 of the kids. Although I call them kids. They look like they're 6, but they're actually like 16. And we're thrown right into our first battle against Goblins. They're pathetically easy as usual. 5 HP, 16 XP, 3 gil, and they can drop a potion. Nothing too annoying about them. But 3 has seen a few advances in terms of technology. First off, you may have seen it there. Above each of the monsters I was targeting, those numbers showed up. That is to remind you who's targeting who. And auto-targeting is finally a thing. If you kill a monster that someone else was going to attack, that other person will now attack someone else. Except with magic, but that's the one exception.
Also, this is my favorite battle theme of all the NES themes, simply because there's actually, like, a percussion beat in there.
Oh, 3's soundtrack is easily my favorite out of the 8-bit trilogy, especially the victory theme. Either way, apparently they've never seen goblins before, which I struggle to believe, because I think you can run into them right outside of Ur.
Well,
starting off, the Onion Kids are very weak, but this game's gimmick will get into that a bit sooner than later than you'd think, and that will cause the stats to change a bit.
Well,
also, I got shields there.
Omens say that there is a goblin at the beginning of every adventure worth having.
Also, if you ever see a rock that's like that, you can investigate it to do stuff. And here we're getting leather shields. This is the only time in the game I'm using shields, because similarly to Final Fantasy II, everyone in this game can effectively dual wield. Shields, I think, raise evasion, I forget.
Defense and evasion, from what I know.
All right.
I don't know if it's in this game, just in this game, or what.
Either way, you don't really need to worry about it. Also, it doesn't really come into play much at all, and you'll only see me do it like twice, but if you press select, you can switch who's the world map character.
Alright, next enemy on our list is the Ai Feng. Level 1, HP 8. I read that backwards. They yield 16 experience points, and they drop 7 gil. They don't have any elemental weaknesses. If you had a thief at this point, you'd be able to steal a potion. Common drops are a potion. Uncommon drops are a high potion, and a rare drop is a phoenix down.
Yeah, because enemies actually have more than one drop in this game. It's the first game in the series to do that, but there's also the Carbuncle, even though I think they're all dead at this point. I'm looking at a different page. I don't have the video up at the moment. 7 HP, 16 XP, 5 gil, drops potion. That's about it.
Might I say how ugly that Ai Feng looks?
Oh, yeah. I still think 3 has the best sprites out of the 8-bit trilogy, but some of the enemies are still kind of... Though I forget if Nomura did the, not Nomura, Amano did the art for this game, at least its enemies. Because a lot of the 8-bit trilogy enemies were directly off his artwork. Also, you may have seen, we got a Blizzard Fang in one of those chests. Also, this is a health spring. If you come up to one of these, it'll heal your HP and MP charges.
That doesn't make any sense. Look at the spring. It's got an odd color. Let's try drinking it. That's...
Apparently you just don't know what blue is.
These kids...
Also, we're getting...
South Wind is probably Antarctic Wind, from what I'm guessing.
Yes, it casts a level 1 ice spell at 1 hit multiplier. Every battle use item casts its spell at 1 hit multiplier, which means they're really good at the start of the game, not much after a certain point.
Wind Crystal. Something evil attacked.
Welcome to the first boss.
This is the Land Turtle. Also, this is a really good boss theme, by the way. Land Turtle is level 8, 120 HP, 132 XP, 500 gold. Surprisingly, no elemental weaknesses and no drops. Normally, turtles like this are weak to ice, but
Well, actually, you say that, but South Winds are actually your best way to go in this fight, at least at the start.
Huh. The wiki didn't say it had any weaknesses. Weird.
But that's mostly just because I think a level 1 ice spell with 1 hit multiplier is still stronger than an Onion Kid's knife.
Against an
The
armored
Onion
turtle.
Kids can actually be good at some point, but they're not worth using in the long run.
Not until late game, though, and especially if you have the onion equipment, right?
Yeah, but that's not until very late game, and even then, the Onion equipment is only useful under a couple of certain things. Either way, let's investigate the crystal now that we did that. Apparently we've been chosen. And, well, basically, the crystals are entrusting us to save the world. We are now the Warriors of Light. Gee, that's a familiar title. And the light's going to surround us, and the crystal just granted us certain abilities we'll be getting into in a moment. But now it's time for an intro cutscene. That's... On some of the earlier ROMs, actually, of the 8-bit version, just this glitched out like nothing else. Like when the crystal flashed, like 1s and 0s would pop up all over the screen. It was pretty bad. Also, I like this little intro to the Final Fantasy theme.
So, does fan translation not for sale?
Yeah, because as I've said, there's no official release of the 8-bit version.
Do
at least
not
yet.
use Nesticle to play this game.
Nesticle, I think, is an older emulator that just would not work at certain points. It would crash just horribly.
Huh, this is interesting.
In terms of disclaimers about this LP, I will say I'm not using every job class because some of them are just worthless, honestly.
Yeah, I was...
But if you're playing the 8-bit, if you're playing the 3DS, not the 3DS, the DS remake, I should just say the 3D version, it's on more than the DS. I actually recommend you use more classes than I do because some of them are made a lot more useful. 4 stout-hearted warriors shall trudge forward and sweep away the darkness so that once again, turn page sound here. The crystal will shine with the light of hope.
Turn page sound here.
Boop.
Or the end. Happily ever after.
And we can leave the magic magic circle just above us, similarly to the orbs from Final Fantasy 1, actually, but they don't do this too much. Either way, I could go into what the light gave us right now, but I'm actually going to explore Ur a bit. This is our hometown. And Final Fantasy 3, I think, actually has the best NPCs out of the original 8-bit trilogy, because they all actually serve to develop something in the game storyline or mechanics. Like, that guy just taught us that we can use items on people by pressing B, and by using a potion on him, you can get a free Echo Orb. So basically, that's just a way you can turn potions into Echo Orbs, so you can get them for less money.
Huh. It seems like this game and Final Fantasy IV share a similar overworld type engine, I guess. I don't know.
There's actually some sound effects in 3 that are actually just ripped right out of it into 4. Either way, I want to do some shopping around here. Namely, do you want to get some cloth helms and copper armors in the equipment shops? Similarly to previous Final Fantasy games, shops are divided into magic, armor, and attack. Oh, this dancer's dancing for us. Also, I should mention, seizure warning for the next 30 seconds.
30 seconds? Is it really that long?
Yeah, because that music was boring. Let's get a better dance theme in here. Also, this guy says a thing. Dance for me!
No!
I was bored when I did this, if you can't tell. It was 4 in the morning.
Hey, I'm impressed with this editing.
And I think I do this a total of 2 more times with different dancers. Also, there's a piano here.
Got better at the piano. So this is... Wow, so there's a lot of mechanics in 5.
Well, the piano is just here as a joke.
Oh.
Like, if you play it on the left, you're shit. If you play it on the right, you're amazing. Ah, that sound effect. Oh, God, my ears.
It sounds like they're It sounds like they're screaming for help.
Yeah, and as you just saw there, in certain pots, you can actually find items again. Like, there's a potion in that one. Potions are actually pretty decent in this one, because you can find a good amount of them. And they heal a decent amount until I'd probably say about 4/5 of the way through the game. Mind you, I don't use too many of them. In fact, I think I have that exact same potion throughout the entire game. Also, that guy says what your classes are for some reason. Don't know why.
Oh my god. I'm actually really excited for... I'm hoping to play the DS version of this game.
You can also get it on Steam.
That's true. I didn't think about that. But specifically for fighting the Nepto Dragon early on.
One thing I will say, if you're playing along in the DS version, be careful, because DS version of 3 did something similar to the DS version of 4, where they really upped the difficulty.
Golbez can drain your magic points, and he is so bad. He's so
In fact, I'm still going to be doing grinding in this game eventually. In fact, I think I'm coming up on a grind spot towards the end of the part. I forget when, though. Also, I buy Pure there. Pure is a spell that can cure poison. The level grinding I do in this is more of the levels I recommend for the DS version. Either way, I want to put those 2 in the back row, because now it's time to go over jobs. But before I do that, make sure you go into the equipment and use the remove command so you can remove all of a person's equipment, because you can't change jobs unless they're empty on stuff.
That's dumb.
In terms of jobs, we get from the first crystal, we get the fighter, which is the exact same thing it was in Final Fantasy 1. The monk, which is the exact same thing it was in Final Fantasy 1. The white wizard, the black wizard, and the red wizard. All Final Fantasy 1 classes. In terms of what I'm going to be doing for my team here, I am going basically almost with the exact same thing I did in Final Fantasy 1, fighter, monk, white mage. The only difference is instead of a red wizard, I'm going with a black wizard. Because thing about the jobs in this game is that, first off, you cannot switch at will. You need to have a certain amount of capacity, which you get at the end of certain boss fights. That's what the 6C is down there, actually. And each class requires a certain capacity to switch, more so with unrelated classes, like it would cost more capacity for a white wizard to switch to a physical class than to another magical class.
That's pretty
That's mostly done...
annoying.
Yeah, it's mostly done just so you can't capitalize on, like, a certain class's higher vitality to get more HP out of something.
Aw, dang it.
You also, if you switch from a melee class to a magical class, you don't have any spell charges, so you need to use an in to do that. But the important thing about classes is the skill level. The skill level, you can see on the stat screen, is increased by doing something relevant to that class's major action. So with, like, a mage, you would be using a spell. That's actually why I got the pure spell. Or for, like, a melee class, it would be just basically attacking, taking damage, so on and so forth. That's actually why I got the pure spell here in Ur, mostly just because it's just good to have someone doing spells while they can, so they can build up their skill level faster. Because you actually get more hit percentages, or more hits rather, at certain intervals with your stats. Every 16 agility, you get another hit counter for your physicals, every 16 skill for your mages. Though I do think the agility also still plays into that with them. Also, I put the black mage in the front row because he doesn't have a spell yet. I'm just having him use knives.
I still think that the times hit system is really interesting in this game specifically.
Yeah, because you can get some actually good use out of it if you know how to use it in this game. Also, I should mention, in this game, the reason I especially got pure right off the bat is that there are basically no bugged status ailments in this game, so eventually you'll have the ability... Also, if you wonder what that transition was there, I actually had to go use the in because I forgot to do it, so now Refia actually has her pure charges. So now I can actually, do stuff with her. Also, I completely forgot to go over the werewolf. Oh, well.
So, okay,
go over the blue wisp first.
Okay. So the blue wisp has level 2, 10 HP, 20 XP, 10 gil, no elemental weaknesses, no drops.
And the werewolf that I forgot to go over had 24 HP, 20 XP, 14 gil, can drop a potion, does about 3 to 4 damage, nothing special at all. It's the general intro area curse, everything is easy.
That's pretty interesting how you're fighting a werewolf that doesn't do much to children.
Well, they look like children, but remember, they're actually like 16.
Yay for sprites looking so young.
Yeah, also you'll notice that for the most part, HP is fixed from the start, but the more you stick with a class, the more you'll get that class's specific stat ups and such, and you'll notice quite the difference. I think towards the end of the game, Ark and Lunith are about 500 to 1,000 HP ahead of the mages. And then we get a copper ring. Rings are a type of arm equipment. They're mostly better for mages than they are for melee fighters, though. Because melee fighters are going to get things like gauntlets and such.
Except for Final Fantasy IV.
Oh, and except for the monk, actually. Because the monk is the usual thing since Final Fantasy 1 where he does more damage the less he technically has on. Like, there we get a nunchuck. I'm not equipping him with that yet because I don't have something to go with it. If he just has the one nunchuck on, he'll be weaker than he is with both of his fists. So for the most part, he's not going to be having any arm equipment on. But you still want to use equipment, though, because defense is actually very important in this game.
Those skulls
and then we get a sleep spell.
Look like bell sprouts to me.
Sleep spell, so now Ingus is going to just be casting spells basically pointlessly just so he can get his skill level up earlier on. And now those knives are pointless. I'm going to sell them. And that hole down there, by the way, I'm going to go into it, but I'm going to cut after that because it leads right into where we started the game. I'm going to go back to the Wind Crystal, go back up and such. So now I'm actually going to be out back in town because I just did that for the extra XP. And now I actually want to buy some antidotes, but I want to buy 4 of them, because the interesting thing about the stores in this game is that you can buy quantities of items, 1, 4, or 10. For every certain amount, you get a certain amount of a discount. I think 4 has 10%, 10 has 20% discount. Which I actually really like that they do that. I wish more games did that.
Buying items is hard in Final Fantasy IV for me.
Not for me, but that's usually because I do enough grinding to the point where I have enough money. If you really want to get into games that have very little gil, 12 and 15.
12.
Ugh.
Oh, 12.
15 got ridiculous with that at times. Though 15 was really good. By the way, I should mention, if you want to do level grinding at this point, by the way, that river on the top right there, or that little pond, is a revivification pond. Almost every single town has one of those. Basically, it's there so you can revive party members for free. Ur is a bit of an exception with inns in that it has the only free inn in the game. Also, for once, the well actually has something in it.
Little Tommy fell down the well!
But there's no Tommy in our team.
Or is it Little Timmy? Tommy? I don't know.
It's Timmy.
Little Timmy. I think I said Tommy, but I meant to say Timmy.
Yeah, you definitely said Timmy. Or Tommy. Something you really want to do, especially with a lot of towns, even though I'm showing you where basically every treasure in the game is that a lot of grass patches actually have items in it, like this one has a potion in it. Sometimes you'll get things like earth drums, which is like a 1-time quake spell, but obviously those don't happen until later on. But one thing we do want to do here in Ur is head to the storehouse in the northwest, because in there we can actually find a cure spell for free, which is really good at this point, because we can't buy a cure spell otherwise until 2 towns away.
You can, wait, you can fight monsters in the town?
Only on that little pathway I was on. Here we got killer bees, 20 HP, 20 XP, 12 gil. They can poison you with their physical attacks, so watch out for that. Thankfully, I already have the pure spell. And they can drop potion. Drop potion. Yes, they can drop poison. That would be an interesting ability.
Well, they can drop their poison, which can effectively be used for an antidote.
You know what? You say that, but like Elder Scrolls, you could probably do that. None of the enemies in the early game are designed to give you any trouble. They're there just to be intros. However, I will say, 3 is one of those games that starts easy, immediately gets really hard for a bit, then kind of stays at a mad difficulty until the end game. Because a certain area we'll be exploring next part can actually be kind of lethal if you're not prepared.
Gross.
And this is the storehouse. What this guy is teaching us is that a lot of things in this game are actually hidden switches. Usually, like things like this candle can contain hidden passageways. And if you're ever stuck on one side of a passageway, like you already opened it, just face just to the north of the passage and you'll open it. Like I cut out of this place after this, but you'll have to go back to the passage. When you're at the end, just head up or investigate the panel above you. And there we got the cure spell. That's always going to be useful. In fact, I think 3 does one thing really well, and that early game spells are still very useful towards the end.
I feel
I'll be using
about most games. About 9, really. 9, really. And 10.
3 did that pretty well, aside from cure spells. Like, even level 1 cure spell is pretty good towards the end, as long as you're single targeting.
I mean, if you have Garnet use cure in the middle of the game, I've had her heal for 1,000 with her cure spell. So
I have not. Also, I bought a copper ring because I actually forgot to buy one earlier. I was a bit scatterbrained when I recorded this, and I still am a bit right now, honestly, because I'm all over the place this break.
And so have I. I've been all over, and I can finally finish my LP and move on.
You've also been cross-country.
That's fair.
By the way, let's head into this next town. This is Kazus. But there's no one here. What do you think, guy?
Aye.
You're scared of 16-year-olds.
Excuse
Really?
me, they're 6.
Apparently, this town's been cursed, and there's ghosts all over the place. In fact, if you try to enter any area that's not the inn, except this revivification pond, obviously, which there's almost one of these in every town, as I said before, they're usually in the gray housed buildings, you won't be able to talk to anyone. Or actually, no, there won't be anyone. Let's check the inn. Well, those are definitely paper outlines, also you can go around here to get a potion. Let's see what these outlines have to say.
Jin.
Apparently some guy named Jin has cursed the town. He's in the Cave of the Seal, and the only way to free this curse and to basically seal Jin is to use a certain ring that we don't have.
The Cave of the Seal, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, let's talk to this one outline I did before. This is Sid. Well, I got him back in quite early. Essentially, we want to get out of this little area we're in, because if you actually travel around the area we're in, we're surrounded by mountains and we can't get out because there's a rock that collapsed and blocked the only passageway to the town of Canaan. And we need Sid in order to get past that rock. However, since he's trapped like this, we need to go get that cave, go into the Cave of the Seal, defeat Jin, and get everyone uncursed just so we can progress. However, he did tell us where the airship is, at least. Because we can still use the airship, but just the fact that we need some Sid help in order to make it breakable for the rock. I said that entirely wrong, and wow, I am bad today. But there's at least a Mithril Helm here, and a Zeus's Rage that costs a level 1, uses a level 1 bolt spell.
Still trying to analyze this game a little bit.
And there we get a staff. Not very useful, I believe. Though, I will say this. I think Final Fantasy III is a first in one way in that it's the earliest we get an airship in the series.
Wow.
However, we're a bit limited in the fact that this airship cannot go over mountains, so we're still trapped in this giant valley area.
So it's like the Black Chocobo in 4, I believe.
Yes. And welcome to Sassoon Castle, but with that, we're going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 2, we'll be checking out Sassoon Castle and hopefully getting everyone in Kazoos uncursed.
See you guys
then.